Good evening, Denver Broncos fans, and welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup. I'm your host, Keith Brugman. I got with me the fantastic Trevor Salzman. Welcome to the show, Trevor. Welcome to talking a little Broncos football, man.
Yeah, Keith, just can't wait to talk a little Bronco football, and it'll be a snowy Bronco football game anyways. It seems like right now anyways, so we'll see. But I think hopefully we'll at least get a win in the snow. Maybe the snow will change the atmosphere a little bit. We'll finally, get that losing streak away from the Chiefs. We need to win this stuff, regardless.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit before the show, man. I've dug myself out of all of about 18 to 24 inches in the last 48 hours or so. You guys are down there dusting off the shovels, getting ready. It's going to be interesting to see if the snowflies for this Chiefs game add a little different dynamic, add another element to the elements. So it'll be fantastic, man. We'll talk a little bit about that, man, but a lot of things going on, man. A lot of things happening in the league. I think, honestly, we haven't talked about it a ton, but a ton of parity in the league this year, right? I know the Chiefs are sitting up, and they're sitting up on top, and they're doing quite well across the entire NFL landscape, right? But we've seen even the Dolphins, who beat up on us, they faltered a little bit. The Bills faltered more than we expected. The Cincinnati Bengals are trying to dig themselves out of the hole that they started in. There's a lot of parity in this league, and sitting here where we're at with our record doesn't necessarily mean we're sunk. Am I wrong, Trevor? I mean, do we still have a chance? Because we'll get into it talking about trade deadline and the like, but it doesn't look for a lot of people, at least in the upper brass in the Broncos country, that this is a season to give up on quite yet. So.
Yeah. I don't think there's a season to give up on. I think anytime it's week to week in the NFL. We talk about these other sports leagues like the NBA and baseball and Major League Baseball. Those teams, it's a lot easier for those teams to start rebuilding if you go in that direction. The NFL, it's hard to rebuild. You just don't hear about it, like teams tanking or rebuilding. It's just really hard to see that come to fruition because these players, they give it their all week in, week out, and they're not just going to sit back and let's just think about the longevity of things. No, they want to play it now. I mean, there's other times now, regardless of the rookie in the league or if they're a veteran in the league, they want to play now. So I don't think it's far fetched. The Broncos making a run of some sort. And again, it'll get interesting if they beat the Chiefs, especially. I think they go to, they come here and just in that losing streak finally, and then we go into the bye week with some momentum. I don't think it's far fetched.
I agree. And also something that's not far-fetched is our good friend Kurt Valente, always on point, saying, let's go. Huge game Sunday. Run the ball right down their throats, man. We were talking a little bit, Kurt. This could be a snow game right here, man. This could be a game where the flakes are flying, and if that be the case, man, we want to probably keep it on the ground. At least we have a sure-handed running back now, or running backs, in order to run the ball. Would have been a little bit scarier about a year ago this date if we were trying to rely on maybe a Melvin Gordon to run the rock in the snow game. So, but I digress, and so did Melvin Gordon. He's somewhere on a roster up in Baltimore, I believe. So, getting to the trade deadline, man. This team. Oh, before I get to the trade deadline, Kurt doesn't follow instructions very well about going to StreamYard.com/Facebook. But if you do that, you can get your name and your profile up there. But I know this is Kurt. I'm checking it out on the side. So thank you very much, Kurt. Kurt is also part of the K&K Sports Show, has a fantastic Denver Broncos show that he puts out every Wednesday, I believe, at 8 p.m. Don't quote me on that, but just go over to the K&K Sports Show. Check it out. Search him on YouTube, search him Facebook, search him on the good old X, and hey, you'll find out exactly. But we were on there, or I wasn't on there. Trevor was on there just the other night, just last week. Fantastic show for a Denver Bronco roundtable, and they know what they're talking about. Kurt gets a little fired up, which is fantastic as well. Also have Pearl coming in. Pearl, thank you so much for joining. Love to see you in here. Pearl, you don't know this, Trevor, but she contacted me after our last show that we had. We became a little friends out there on Facebook. She showed me some of the pictures of her horse and her riding her horse at 75 years old. Keep it up, Pearl, man. And I appreciate you being a fan of ours and sharing a little bit. I love that you got a little, like I said, a little equine action, I guess you could say, on the side as well. So, Trevor, moving on. Like I said, we oops, trying to get rid of Pearl's in here saying hi twice, once and twice, and that's why I clicked on. I went to click her off, and she came in here again and said hello. So hello again, Pearl. This trade deadline, everybody, it was just 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. Some people were talking fire sale. Some people were talking burn this roster down, trade every living piece that we possibly could, mount up the draft picks, get ready for the future, pull a plug on this season. We have seen nothing of the sort. And Trevor, do we expect anything? Do we expect anything at this point? We went from like literally thinking that maybe everybody all the way down to PS2 might be possibly on the trading block to now kind of crickets.
Yeah. And I will say that going back a couple weeks ago, I think a lot of that's emotion off the losses and how we're seeing this team lose week in and week out and how they're losing. They're just finding new ways to lose, it seems like. So I think a lot of us got caught up into that. For me, it was hard for me to believe that we were going to go fire sale because Sean Payton coming to this situation. I don't think he comes to Denver just wanting to rebuild. I think because it's a lot easier to find his quarterback or rebuild with a different team that doesn't have expectations as the Broncos have. So I never believed one bit that they were going to sell off Zertan. I never believed one bit that they were going to rebuild. As far as right now, I mean, we're starting to hear, I think it's starting to be a little bit quiet on the trade block. I think as far as, Justin Simmons, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. One name I will mention, Josie Jewell. That makes a lot of sense for Denver to move on from. They have Drew Sanders. He needs playing time. Josie Jewell's on an expiring deal. I think you need to get something for him. Him and Singleton they're kind of alike in a lot of ways, in my opinion. So I think if you can get something for Josie Jewell, I think it's best to do that rather than just let him walk at the end of the year. And again, Drew Sanders, we need to start seeing some of these rookies now. They're not going to get better just sitting on the sideline. So we need to start seeing Drew Sanders now. Simmons, I think his price range, I think the Broncos have a certain price range for some of these guys, Jerry Jeudy and Justin Simmons in particular, that I do not believe that they're going to move off from. So there's just no motivation. One thing we got to remember is it's easy to trade these guys, but you need to get value back. The Broncos value these guys. Jerry Jeudy's a former first-round draft pick. Justin Simmons, very valuable leader in that locker room and an all-pro safety. So you're not just giving that away for anything. So I think one reason we're not seeing the Broncos make trades right now, I don't think necessarily it's like, oh, well, they'll make a run. I think there's just value. I think it's value. They're not getting anything, I think, for these guys right now as far as fair offers. So that's why, in my opinion, what it is. I don't know what you think, Keith, but I think that right now we're just not seeing good offers come in for these guys that Broncos should be entertaining those right now.
Well, one thing I would say is we had a little bit of a quote that came out this week from Sean Payton. I'm gonna paraphrase. I don't have it in front of me, but he said, and I'll do my best, Sean Payton here. Well, listen, great question, by the way. But that being said, he came out and he said, we saw this before. We saw this, in the off season. People coming up and talking about this. He goes, I understand. It's the news cycle, of course. He said he didn't even know when the trade deadline was. He's like, I think it's like sometime next week, right, or something like that. He's like, but here but we're not. That's not what we're doing. We're taking these players, and these players are the ones that we're going out there and we're trying to win games, and that's all we're focused on. So if it's coming from Sean Payton, okay, this is what I'll let you chime in because I see the head nod for all of those who maybe are only listening. Trevor's got some skepticism in his head nod. Let's just put it that way. Sean Payton's that guy that's pulling all the triggers as far as we're concerned. That's the reason we have Saints 2.0, anywhere from the roster of players to the roster of coaches even sometimes, to all the trades that we made. And, here comes in Will Lutz, and you name it. It's Sean Payton seems, in what he's saying, that he's not interested. He's straightforward with the guys that he's got. Trevor's saying, hold your horses because we are the
Yeah,
Broncos. So what are you thinking there? A little talking out of the side of his mouth there, Trevor?
yeah, I don't buy that 1 minute that he doesn't know when the trade deadline is. If you're in charge of the team, first of all, that's concerning if he doesn't even know when the trade deadline is in the first place. But second of all, there's no way that he does not know when the trade deadline is. I'm sure he's had this on his mind for a little bit now. It's one thing to entertain it, but here's the thing: he's not going to come out and say right away, "Oh, yeah, we're open for business. We're going to trade everybody." What was he expected to say right now? He came into Denver, just started throwing people underneath the bus. Hackett, he started throwing the Broncos organization underneath the bus.
Mm.
Right now, he's probably making up for that a little bit right now with not speaking a little bit too much. Maybe Greg Penner's like, you need to hold your horses, stop, telling the media everything and stuff, throwing everybody underneath the bus. So it's just like, I don't think one bit that he's not entertaining offers or, and just satisfied with this team because you're not in a good position right now. So you need to be entertaining offers, if anything.
Mm.
But I don't buy it one bit that doesn't know what the trade deadline is and all this chatter of he's just contained with this roster right now. And in the offseason, you could say that. Right
Yeah.
now, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to believe he's like, yeah, this is the 53 guys that we're running it back with next year. Don't worry about it, guys, man. We've got our guys. Yeah, no, a little bit, you got to run under the radar a little bit. If you're throwing all your cards out there and it's like, yeah, man, we got 2 or 3 guys on our roster we just would love to move on from. Well, guess what? You're good luck on getting that call for the the big number or the big draft pick that you're hoping for, right? I do think I agree with you in the fact that I don't think anybody's just been calling in and knocking the socks off the Broncos. And that's what it comes down to. What they're coming in with is probably what's expected or a little bit lower. And hoping to be able to pry a piece or two away from the Broncos, add to their roster, but no one's going to overpay. I was thinking about it. It's like, why would you look at our roster and say, oh yeah, we're going to overpay for who? For who? Like PS2, and that's about it. People might argue Justin Simmons. No one's going to overpay for Jerry Jeudy. No one's going to overpay for Courtland Sutton. No one's going to overpay for Josie Jewell. You know what I mean? It's no one's out there knocking our socks off, and because of that, yeah, the phone's not ringing, and we don't know when the trade deadline is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is also I think he's trying to make up for past dues with his players. I think they can't be exactly satisfied with what Sean Payton has said so far to the media. You got to throw again. A lot of those players from last year are still on this team, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's kind of making up for that a little bit by not throwing them underneath the bus right now. He's got to maintain that locker room. Once you lose locker room, I mean, it's not good for anybody. Let's just say that we found that out with Hackett last year during the Christmas game.
Yeah, and it's a balance, right, man? Because you can throw a little shade towards your players, especially if you're winning, in order to try to get just a little bit more out of them. And sometimes when you're a little bit down, you can try to test your players and get them to stand, rise up and to the occasion and go out there and play a little bit more. But at some point, too, we're just pulling out all the puns. Can't beat a dead horse when he's down, It's like, no reason to beat that dead horse, if they're already suffering out there, then my goodness, what else can you do, man? I mean, you got to give them a little bit of positivity. Always with the positivity. The other half of the K&K Sports Show. Good Friday evening, fellas. I hear there may be snow in the forecast for Sunday. That's coming in from Kenny. Like I said, second half of that K&K Sports Show. Now, he's not a Broncos fan, but they got a lot of programs going on over at the K&K Sports Show. Cover all the major sports coast to coast. Check them out. Little Wits and Wagers, which I missed. It was yesterday, I believe, if I remember correctly. I missed Wits and Wagers, one of my favorite shows over there. Check out K&K Sports Show. Pearl's coming back in saying, Cody from Greeley Online is predicting 4 to 6 inches. That's beautiful, man. I was getting all excited, man, because there's nothing more exciting than a snow game at Mile High, in my opinion. There's very few venues where you can still get a snow game, but a snow game at Mile High, man, that's epic. I would love. She says it will clear up in the Sunday evening, and then coming off of Pearl, one of our newest and greatest fans, right over to one of our best fans, Michael Ronquillo. Good evening, Keith and Trevor. Good evening, Ronk. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man. I know Trevor feels the same. I take over the mic too much.
No, yeah, thank you for everybody that's joined us so far. Michael, you've been great. Did follow him on Twitter the other day, so I think you pointed that out on Tuesday's show. So Michael, I see him in the MHH chat room too. So Michael's just a great Bronco supporter. He's everything that you could ask for from a Bronco fan. He's been great to us, and we love having him in the chat with us.
100% agree, man. And grid call out, man. It's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you want out of a true fan. One of those fans that are with you through and through, supporting you every way you can. This guy's up on all the news, and he not only that, he just supports every single podcast I can possibly imagine. Every time I turn around, I'm like, here's a new podcast. Wait, nope, not new to Michael, man. He's probably in there already commenting. So hats off to you, Michael. Really appreciate the support you give us and the support you give all of Broncos. All of the Broncos. So, and even Pearl's coming in here. Pearl's a fan of Michael's. Hi, Michael Ronquillo. So, yeah, it will be interesting. I will pose you this. Do you think this game that we have coming up makes any difference for the trade deadline that would then be right around the corner? I mean, like, we finish this game and it's right around the corner. We only have a few days to pull off a trade. Does it make a difference if we win or lose this game as far as, whether a piece moves or not?
Yeah, I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time believing that this game's going to change. And now, again, it's momentum. So, you win this game against Chiefs, you can now believe, okay, we can go on a little bit of a run.
Yep.
Problem is, you still have a losing record. You need draft capital. You have 6 picks going next year. This is an opportunity. Now, it's not the only opportunity. They could do it in the out season. It's your opportunity from Josey Jewell's standpoint. At least make one move. Josey Jewell. Get Josey Jewell. I love Josey Jewell. But here's the thing. He's expiring deal. You have a rookie that you took in the draft, and he needs playing time. If you need draft capital, you've got to have a mix a little bit, balance it out a little bit of being competitive, but you also need to be realistic of your future. You can't get too caught up in the moment because you may miss them. May miss a moment to get better down the line. So it's just I don't think so. But again, we'll see what Sean Payton. He kind of rides on emotions a little bit, so maybe. But I think that they need to balance it out a little bit and figure what players to move based on value, what to get offered from between now and Tuesday's deadline.
Very good, man. I'll throw a little stat that I heard. About 1 in 3 teams trade a player. In this window, right? In the trade deadline window. So, are we going to be one of those 3 teams? And that's only one player that gets traded. The most that ever was traded, or at least in recent history, were 3 by the Jets, and I believe that's when they moved on from. Oh, what's his face? They sent him to the Seattle Seahawks safety. Anyway, Jamal
Adams.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue, but I had a different name, and throwing out the wrong name can throw everybody off. So it's like, maybe I'll just test it out there. Thank you, Jamal Adams. I believe it was that year when they really started offloading. So everyone that thought that there was going to be a fire sale, if we would have moved 3 pieces, that would have been, like first time since like 2017 that many players had been moved, I believe, if I remember correctly the date, but don't quote me on that. I'm terrible with dates. So what's not terrible is all of our fans that we have coming in here. Jody's coming in here, a fan and a host on one of our shows, always on Tuesday. You can check out Jody Moncrief, who can head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook and get his profile pic and his name up there. But Jody's coming in and says, we had 5 picks this year and don't dress 60% of them. So what's more picks going to do for us? Man, it's a good question. I can tell you, in my humble opinion, Jody, the same thing that we saw Sean Payton do when he built up the New Orleans Saints and eventually got to the point where, he built himself out of cap space and maybe a job that he wanted to stick around for. But he loves to trade. He loves to trade picks. He loves to trade players. in order to try to get other picks. He likes to package them together. Just because you're not getting draft picks on the field, accumulating draft picks for Sean Payton means he can package it up with a Josie Jewell maybe and move along and get an offensive tackle that he wants or a center that he wants or whatever have you be. So that's what I see. Trevor, what are your thoughts, man? We had 5 picks. They don't get to see the field. Is it worth getting more draft picks? Is this just a matter of time before these draft picks from this last year's draft see the field and then we move on from this conversation? Where are we sitting in all this?
Yeah, so for me, it's just I think it's getting draft picks, but gotta get value. If you can maximize your value right now for, let's just say, Justin Simmons, you can get a late first round pick or even a second round draft pick for him. You maximize your value there. That gives you more assets going forward. Yeah, I know we're not seeing the picks right now. And that's one of the biggest questions with Sean Payton. Why are we not seeing these young guys play? They're not going to get better sitting on the sidelines. But here's the thing: you have a veteran player like Josie Jewell. This is why I'm pounding the table on this. He's expiring. He has an expiring deal, like we said earlier in the show. You move on from him, that opens up the door for another rookie to come in, Drew Sanders, who's got a lot of praise throughout training camp and stuff like that. He's got to see the field. You have an opportunity to do that. I think you need to do that. I think, well, you could debate that whether the Broncos are in it or not. That might be a move that you need to make anyways, just because it does open up the door for a guy under team control, a draft pick that you wanted to come in and start and get that opportunity to get better this year. So in later years, he's more seasoned. But I would say you have to, again, I think it's based on value, how you value these picks. With Sean Payton, he hasn't hit in free agency right now. I mean, he needs picks. And whether it's George Payton, Sean Payton picking, I think it's more Sean Payton picking, but we got to have more assets, I think, going forward. But you can't just be giving up players just for nothing. You've got to maximize your value for these guys.
Well said, buddy. Well said. I do think, to a certain extent, like I said, Sean Payton likes to rely on veterans and his guys, and it's the reason we haven't seen him. If we're talking about Palczewski or any of these guys are further down on the roster. Even if you look at J.L. Skinner, it's not like we went out and tried to draft him at the top of the draft board. So there's a reason, and I even posed the question, maybe these guys that we had injuries, like J.L. Skinner, like Riley Moss that came on here and quote-unquote fell in the draft because of that, maybe they didn't fall in the draft just because of injuries. Maybe there was other questions from other teams, other 31 teams, and the Broncos as well as to why they were picked when they were. And if that's the case, then, they had to work their way up the roster. First-round picks, absolutely should see the field. Second-round picks, probably should be seeing the field. Third-round picks is where it starts to get iffy, and it's going to start really depending upon the position. Beyond that, those other guys should be having to work up, work in, find their way in, start on. Now, this is one place that I'll absolutely agree and pound the table when you're only dressing 52, when you can always have guys on special teams. That's the opportunity that they're missing out on right there. So, chat board is blowing up, guys. I'm used to saying guys because we usually have a few in. Trevor, the chat board is blowing up. It's just me and you, buddy, and we got to get into it and get into some of our good friends that are coming in because, well, we got one halfway across the Pacific Ocean. Patrick Wiltsey coming in saying, "Aloha, sirs. I'm wishing for a snow game because I live in Hawaii and can't attend in person." I will, if you want. I've got 18 inches out my back door. I can see if it'll survive in a cooler, and I can sit. No, it's probably not going to work. I'm sorry, Patrick. Lots of snow here. Could be snow, as Pearl has been checking in, telling us could be 4 to 6 inches. I hope that's all during the game. Even if it clears out in the PM, I hope it's all during the game. Hope that we get some snowflakes flying. There's nothing better when the ground gets covered. So I was wanting to get back into these comments because we're getting so many comments already starting to talk about the game. That I think we need to jump topics right now and just kind of get into it right now. I will say Kenny jumped in and said, fire sales are very rare in the NFL. There are no minor leagues in the NFL like that. Major League Baseball, not worth having a fire sale or tearing it down. And he came back in and corrected what he actually has on the screen there. But yeah, absolutely right, man. You know, if you get rid of your left tackle right now and Garrett Bowles because you don't necessarily like his contract moving into next year, it's not like you just have a plug and play left tackle that is going to fill the void. And as much as he's been taking criticism over the years, playing pretty good this year, and the step down from a Garrett Bowles could be scary, man. Do you agree with Kenny? It's not just worth tearing it down. It's not worth having fire sales.
Well, it's not worth tearing it down right now mid-season. I would say. I would say if you're going to tear it down, you do it in the off-season when you have more flexibility as far as getting better. Which again, like you said, you don't just trade Garrett Bowles just because. Again, I would understand if they had value and they got good value for him. I would understand a little bit. But again, that's a left tackle. You're trying to see what you have out of Russ. Well, Mac McGlinchey's not been good, so you're going to be putting a left tackle in there that is a little iffy on the other side of Russell Wilson. So I want to say this, ask this question real quick.
Quickly,
are we making too much of the trade deadline and trying to trade these pieces off? Because again, we're 7 weeks into the season right now with Sean Payton, a new era of coaching. So are we? I think the Broncos are going that more philosophy of let's play the season out and give these guys more time to adjust to the system than just trade them off now. Because it's quick and easy to say, oh, let's trade them off now. But we're in 7 weeks into the season now, going on 8. Let's trade them off now. But they haven't had that much time to, get everything together. Because it's kind of seemed like, again, against the Packers game, we've seen this team probably put together one of the more complete games of the season. Wouldn't you agree? So that's why I say, give it more time, more evaluation throughout the season, and then make your, what you want to do after that. But I think making it right now, unless there's a really good deal on the table, I think it's hard to evaluate these guys because we're not through the season yet, and you haven't given a full season to under Sean Payton to see what this roster and this team truly has.
Yeah. This leads me in. I hope my good friend Jeremy ends up jumping in here at some point because he answered the same question that I'll pose a little bit later in the chat for everyone to chime in for. But I just don't know what this team is about necessarily. When Sean Payton came in, he said he was, slow to hire, quick to fire. You know what I mean? And we haven't seen any firings as of yet, and that goes all the way, in my opinion, that same mentality, even though you're not firing them, players in the same time, it's like, hey, man, I haven't seen anybody just be, taken from the lineup and brought down or taken from the lineup and be traded or anything like that. So it is a two sides of his mouth type of situation. I just don't know what's up with the Broncos. I don't know the identity. You know what I mean? And I think that will get flushed out. As you said, we're only 7 weeks into a Sean Payton era season. So, what is your identity? I don't think a lot of people know what their identity is. If this is a brand new head coach, brand new into the NFL, 7 weeks is a short time to already have an identity for your team and your coach and your staff and the whole nine. So, good question, Kenny, and our comment, I guess it is, and Trevor, I like your insight on that as well, man. I want to get insight into this game and I'm going to have to jump right back over to Kenny because he was one of the first ones in here. He said, thanks, because we called out the K&K Sports Show, and then he says he has a question. He says, to try and slow down Kelsey, could you guys see PS2 on Kelsey for at least some of the game? Now, we saw a little bit of that when we played him last. I did see that switch happen within the game, and PS2 actually was beaten on a pass to Kelsey, and that's one of the reasons we all saw it. Do you think that's a thing that they continue to go to? Is that the Broncos' best solution in order to try to slow down to Travis Kelsey? What are your thoughts on how we, not that anybody else can, slow down Travis Kelsey, bud?
Yeah, I think you have to try anything you can, try to slow him down. If that's Surtain, sure. Because again, right now, anybody else, the Broncos can't cover Travis Kelsey right now. So I almost kind of wonder this, though. Let Kelsey, don't let him go off this game, but contain everybody else around Mahomes and not because it's not just a one-man wrecking crew the whole game. He's going to target multiple people. So I would say, yeah, you can try PS2 on there, but you need to contain everybody else, the run game, the passing game, everybody else that's not Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey, he's going to get his catches, and he's gonna make an impact in this game regardless. He's a Hall of Fame tight end, so I think that. But again, I think that if you can try to put PSU on him, if you try to slow him down, fine. But I wouldn't necessarily put all my eggs in that one basket to slow this whole Chiefs offense down. I think you need to try to contain everybody else around Mahomes first.
Yeah, it's these elements I think are definitely going to come into play if those elements come into play. Well, and let's face it, if it's like snow type of weather, it's not like it's the balmy 70 degrees that we played in just a couple weeks ago. So that being said, I did want to. I'm going to go back just a little bit because Jody is just coming in and he has just a couple of things when it comes to the trade deadline. He says, in my opinion, it's not going to be a fire. It's not going to be a fire sale anytime. I'm sorry. I'm going to start this all over. In my opinion, he's not going to fire anyone this fast because that's admitting he messed up something. He don't do that. I don't. And then just one other thing, he said Titans he thinks are close to tearing it down. I think I missed the comment just a little bit. So maybe just there we go. I think the Titans are on the verge of a fire sale, and that could be, man. I mean, that's a team that's kind of struggling with an identity and the pieces and parts that they have in place, and obviously moving on probably from a quarterback is going to be necessary in their near future, and certainly haven't brought in a quarterback like Russ. That happened for them years ago when they paid Tannehill, and now they're looking for the future. They definitely are looking for the future. So that's certainly a possibility and good call out there. I was going to just get back to what we were kind of talking about with Travis Kelce and PS2 and get back to what Kenny was asking there. For me, yeah. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Travis Kelce, as they call him, the Kelce routes or whatever, the Travis routes, or I can't remember what they were calling it on the main broadcast. But that being said, his ability to settle into areas does take someone kind of mirroring him quite closely. It's one of the reasons I said, hey, we can't just have Singleton or Jewell quickly passing off Travis Kelce to the cornerback or the safety that's supposed to pick up on the back end, because he just settles down right in behind them and opens up, and then all of a sudden that cornerback or that safety has to come crashing, and next thing you know, that ball's zipping over their shoulder and it's too late, and they're trying to run behind, catch back up to Travis Kelce. So the one thing I will say is I really like what Vance Joseph has done. For all the fire Vance Joseph and why is Vance Joseph here, people have got to admit the last couple of games been a pretty good defense. A little bend not break type of defense, but great defense, kept points off the board, kept this Broncos team in the game. So what do you think? I mean, that's my thoughts on, whether it be PS2, whether it's an Alex Singleton, whether it's a Drew Sanders, if maybe he gets a start. I mean, that's a guy that has some speed to follow in this more man type of setup. I do worry a little bit about Mahomes taking off in a man scheme type of defense. But what do you think about this Vance Joseph defense and how he's come about in the last couple of weeks and put it together, bud?
Yeah, so VJ's, again, he's had that defense playing really well the past couple of weeks, and again, I think it comes down to slip and flying the playbook a little bit and helping these guys out and playing more to their strengths. I think also them getting healthy has helped quite a bit as well. Baron Brown and Justin Simmons coming back, to name a few. I think it's really helped this roster. And help this defense in particular. But this is why I think you stick with VJ the rest of the year. That you need to see what you have. And again, you fire VJ, what do you got? I mean, what do you got to replace him? So, I think that I'm starting to become more on that train of give VJ the rest of the year, see what you have. Just like I just said with the team, if you can get value for players, see what this team has a full year of under Sean Payton before we make evaluations, because it is a little bit of a short sample size right now. But I hope the recipe to contend the Chiefs was the last game. Now it's going to be up to the offense to start putting pressure on the Chiefs defense, and that's a defense that's good. So Last game, it wasn't the defense's fault; it was the offense's fault. So the offense needs to adjust. Sean Payton needs to adjust going into this game on Sunday.
Like it, man. I think I lost my train. Oh no, I got it back, man. Train came rolling back in. Lost my train of thought. Don't worry, it's back. So when you talk about, VJ playing it out, seeing what you have, just spark something in my mind. It's really, really difficult to see what you have in a player when the coaching and the scheme is changing midseason, right? So what do we have in, I don't know, Fabian Moreau, who looked really good, and all of a sudden next week a new coach comes in, new scheme, Fabian Moreau starts looking terrible. You know what I mean? It's really tough to evaluate when all of a sudden things are in this constant state of flux. Same thing on the offensive side of the ball. We wouldn't want to get rid of Joe Lombardi or Sean Payton or something like that. We have something going. It's not the time to get rid of Davis Webb. You know what I mean? Let's see what we have. Let's play through the season, and then we can make those determinations from there based upon everything. We got to see all these guys together the entire season. So I kind of like that thought and that mentality, man. It makes a lot more sense. You start pulling triggers left, right, and otherwise. Well, you might end up tanking whether you like it or not in that situation, even though you might be thinking you're doing the right thing by getting rid of Vance Joseph, right? So I can't ignore Michael Ronquillos because when I said we started seeing comments in here talking about the game. So I need you to get lined up, man. I think 3 is about right because Michael's coming in and he's saying, Keith and Trevor, what are your keys to the game for the Broncos to beat the Chiefs on Sunday? You know what? We can have 4 keys to the game. That'll allow us to have 2 offense, 2 defense if we want as well. So, also 4 quarters. It's nice. It feels right. So start off. Why don't you give us 1 offensive key to the game in order to beat the Chiefs?
I would say run the ball. I mean, stick to the run game. You can talk about the weather, if it's snowy or whatever. Stick to what works. The run games worked. It worked last week. We seen a good balance. Russ wasn't, kind of running for his life all game long per se. The Chiefs defensively, they're 16th in rush defense. So, I mean, if you want a chance to figure out this Chiefs defense and get them on their toes, I think you've got to start by running the football, using McLaughlin, using Javonte, using Pete Ryan a little bit in there. Pound the rock. Don't give up and go to the pass game because pass game, their pass defense 6th in the NFL right now. So it's just, I think if anything, the formula is there to run the ball, stick to it. You've seen it. What happened against the Packers that worked a little bit. So I think you need to stick to that and see where it takes you.
Yeah, I'm gonna like, I guess, double up on one of your keys then, man, because the run game, this weather, that defense, what we were built for, but more specifically, what I really liked I saw in this last game is the inside zone that they were using as far as their blocking scheme. When they were pulling their inside guard and looping them back around, letting the guard kick out to the second level, and that guard was coming into the hole and filling in, that was working, and that was working fantastic. And we don't have the guys to run wide. We can't have Cushenberry trying to get to the edge. We can't have, well, certainly no McGlinchey or Bowles trying to run out in space. It just doesn't work, So if we can continue that inside zone scheme, it's going to be tough. Again, this defensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs is no joke, So it's going to be difficult, but it's one of the weaker points, man. Why don't we switch over to the defensive side? We'll give 1 key on defense. Trevor, start us off there, man.
Yeah, so I'd say make the Chiefs commit to the run. They're 18th in rush offense right now, and they're 2nd in passing offense. So they are going to want to pass the ball. I would say get after Mahomes as much as you can. Make them be a run team. And obviously you got to stop the run now, but you have to get the ball in Mahomes' hands as much as possible. And this probably goes back into what I'm going to say here in a little bit. But I would say just make them a running team, stop the run, keep the ball in Mahomes' hands, put pressure on him. I want Baron Browning. I want Nick Benito. getting after the quarterback. If you got to blitz Mahomes a little bit, do it. Put pressure on him all day. Do not let him just sit back in the pocket and do what he's going to do all game and hurt you in every way possible, even with his feet or with his arm. You cannot let him just sit back there in the pocket and just have a heyday on your defense.
Well said, man. I mean, Mahomes obviously league MVP, Super Bowl MVP, man. He's got to be a guy that you got to keep in check. I'm going to flip on the other side, though, and keys to the defense, because we talked about it for our offense, what one of our keys is, and that's being able to run the ball. It's going to be a snow game, still a snow game for them as well. They're going to want to have to go. They're going to want to go out there, and they're going to want to, dictate, run the ball as well. They got Isaiah Pacheco, a guy that was inside the Broncos facility. We brought him in for a visit. We passed him over. He goes to the Chiefs, and that's a guy that I believe could absolutely tear it up. I think, quite honestly, one of the reasons he plays so hard against the Broncos is because he had a visit here, because we passed him over. I think he has a little extra every single time he plays us, and this is one of those games that lines up perfect for him getting a ton of touches. This means that, that defensive line, they've got to maintain their gaps and not get out of place. We've seen it early in the season where they just had terrible. The Miami game was a perfect example of where they just had the worst gap integrity and just set their linebackers up for even more failure than they were already having on their own. So that kind of just brings me to the second level of those linebackers. Those linebackers have got to be aware. I know that they're going to have a lot of eyes on Travis Kelce and crossing routes and guys that can really fly, and you don't want to get behind in the snow if there is snow on the field. But that being said, man, they better watch out for Isaiah Pacheco. I think it's going to be a big game for him. Need to shut it down early, so it's not, I should say. So flip it over to the offense one more time, man. Give our second key of the game for you, Trevor.
Consistency. You got to put pressure on this Chiefs offense to score. You can't be putting your defense in a bad spot by just not scoring and not being consistent. And I think that comes in with the whole balance thing. You can't go heavy on pass. I think you can't go heavy on run. I think you need to balance it out. Russ Wilson had a much better game, in my opinion, against the Packers when it was more of a more balanced attack. And so I think you need to try. You got to be consistent. You can't sit there and I don't want to see this conservative play calls. Be aggressive. Get after this Chiefs defense. Figure out their weakness. Sean Payton, this is what the Broncos brought Sean Payton in here for. These exact games like this, division rival game that you need to win. This is a losing streak that you've had for years now. It's time to break it. Sean Payton, this is what you pay for. He needs to deliver. This offense needs to see. We need to show some consistency throughout the whole game, not just one half, throughout the whole game.
That's fair, man. I'm gonna pay a little ode to one of our co-hosts on the show on the Denver Bronco Roundup. Catch him every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. I almost said 7:30 because I got ready for tonight's show. 7 o'clock Tuesday, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup show. You'll always catch Albert, and you'll always catch this man Jody, who I'm just going to mention by name. I think this is the perfect game where we need to go ahead and take some shots down the field. This is the perfect opportunity to get some pass interference, to get some big chunk yardage. Everyone's going to be expecting that run. You're going to see those guys creep up. Let's take some opportunities in this game. Let's push it down the field. Let's see what we can get. We have a Marvin Mims. We have a Cortland Sutton. We have an ankle breaker in Jerry Jeudy. If the weather is bad in any way, form, or fashion, even cold, believe me, cornerbacks don't like to be twisting ankles, running backwards, trying to keep up with a guy like Jerry Jeudy. We'll have opportunities. Let's throw it down the field. Let's stretch the field. Just take a few shots for me, man. A few big shots. Keys to the game, I think, is going to be able to stretch that field because it's going to open up that run game. It's going to open up that passing game underneath. I think it's going to be still necessary, especially in a game, and I think it could pay dividends. Defensive side of the ball, man. We got one more key right here, right, bud? And then we're both out, and then we'll wrap it up. By the way, thank you, Michael. We've had he's over on YouTube, so thank you very much for checking us out, subscribing, liking, sharing. He's over on YouTube. We've had his profile pick up here the whole entire time because came in with a great question. So we're going to wrap it up on the second keys of the defense. Trevor, kick us off, man.
I'd say create turnovers. Find a way to create turnovers. That you can't, let Mahomes again have a heyday all day and let him and Kelsey just cook your defense all day. You've got to find a way to get turnovers. If that's putting pressure on him, if that's containing Kelsey by putting PS2 on him, you have to figure out a way to create turnovers with this Chiefs offense. Them having possession of the ball is never a good thing. So you need to be able to create turnovers and set your offense up for key yardage in the red zone, and just keep the ball as much as possible out of Mahomes' hands. You have to do that because you have to plan around that, and that's offense side of the ball as well. Just so he doesn't have most of the game to do damage against you. And again, you have that formula, that scheme that worked well against the Chiefs this last game. That held the Chiefs under 20 points. That's now you have that. Let's work with that. Be a little bit more aggressive with that game plan, and let's work forward and stop this Chiefs offense. That at times they've been shaky. So their formula is there to help get a win.
Like it, bud. Like it. My key for the second key for defense. I guess I thought about this. This is all going to be like defensive line aligned. This defensive line needs to get pressure by themselves. I used to play defensive line. You can tell because of my gargantuan stature. I'm just kidding. I used to play defensive line at one point, and cold weather games like this, it's fun because that offense is just getting beat up and it's cold. And they're the ones who are having to take the licking all game long. You're the one who gets to tee off. This is your time to go ahead and get pressure from this defensive front, not sending blitzes, not having to send a corner, not bringing a linebacker, nothing like that. I need pressure from this defensive front. And like you said, make Patrick Mahomes a little uncomfortable. Got to contain him, but you can't just let him sit back there and pick you apart either. That's a number one key to have Travis Kelce just having to eat lunch, having him eat your lunch all day long is if Mahomes sits back there, with all the time in the world, just trying to figure out where he wants to go. So pressure from this defensive front, man, that's where I'm going at. I'm going to also go someplace else. I'm going to go back to the chat board here, bud, because we got to get caught up a little bit. Got our good friend Matt Staffiero. Matt, so good to see you, man. We haven't talked in a long time. Thank you for joining in the show, and thanks for joining in the chat. Appreciate you so much, man. Also, Pearl, just saying, maybe it's time to move on per Pearl. I think she's over on the East Coast. It's getting a little bit later out there. She's saying great show and thank you with a big heart. Big heart for you as well. Maybe I'll talk to you offline a little bit as well, Pearl. And for any of you guys, feel free, reach out. If you're a fan, be a fan of ours, reach out. Just the other day, like Trevor was saying, he was chatting it up over on X with Michael Ronquillo. So always love to be with our fans. So who got a few more, and I got to look off to the side. Again, if you guys want to, head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook and say, yes, I'll allow my Facebook profile pic and name to be allowed so that Keith can recognize me right off the bat. But that being said, I'm going to jump over here. I figure this is who I saw. Another guy that I just became good friends with, Clayton, is jumping in here and saying, hey, guys. Smash that like button and share, guys. Thank you so much, Clayton. Appreciate you. Fantastic supporter of the show. Love it so much. Love having you in here and being a part. And he's jumping in here, letting us know how his day has been going, maybe his week. I'm going to jump in here. So went to my high school football game, mini class reunion, playoffs, baby, and we won. Go Kettle Moraine. Well, congratulations, man. High school reunion, football game. Everybody's winning. They're in the playoffs, baby. That's fantastic, man. Gotta love that. What a reunion, man. I haven't went to a reunion. Trevor doesn't get to yet. And
not yet. About 7 years, I think. 6 years.
Yeah, maybe 7 years you'll get into one. He's also just saying, let's go. He's saying, and we got the dub 28-21 in that playoff. So Awesome. Denver Broncos for life, baby. Love it so much. Who else we got in here? We got I'm missing one in here. How come I'm missing one? I'm looking two different places. Maybe it's coming in at different times. So I'll just keep on reading. This one's coming in from Clayton and saying ground and pound like no other. Don't care. PS2 on the tight end and blitz, baby. Let it let's get it man to man pressure from the front four. So, yeah, a lot of what we were talking about there, too, man. I'm going to take a break. You can talk about all these comments that I've just been going through for a second, Trevor, and maybe take off on your own just a little bit because I need a little bit of a wet the whistle here. So, take it away, buddy.
Yeah. Again, just want to thank you guys for joining in. You guys make this possible. We wouldn't be here without you guys. We really appreciate you. Yeah, as far as Broncos wise going forward, again, I think it's going to be an interesting game but the Broncos have nothing to lose. Go out there, give it all you got. I mean, all these players. Again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You have players from last year and years prior that have been a part of this rivalry. It's time to start, changing the culture a little bit. What better way to change the culture than get a win against Chiefs, break that streak finally? It's because this is the Broncos Super Bowl. I would think we've been hearing that a little bit. So what better way? Beat right, beat the Chiefs and go out to the bye with a win. We can enjoy it for a couple weeks before we get back to work, and it's just it'd be such a great thing. Do it in the snow in Denver. It's a perfect atmosphere for the Broncos to get a win.
I had my mic off. I agree completely. I also, maybe I just throwing off because obviously I'm way off. Pearl's coming and saying, I'm in Colorado. Oops. Sorry about that, Pearl. I don't know why I had you on the East Coast, so I'm so sorry. Jody is coming in. First prediction on a score for tonight. We'll get ours at the very end, which is coming up in, let's say, 3-4 minutes, guys, tops. So wrap up if you have anything big, pressing, you want to throw in the comments, you have a question, get it in now. Appreciate it so much for all the support, like Trevor was pointing out. Appreciate you guys so much. It's all about you guys. That's why we're here, man. And I appreciate all the support we're getting tonight and every single night. So, Jody's coming in with that prediction. He's coming in with a 42-14 Broncos win. Whew, man, that would break the streak. It would put a ton of wind in your sails. You'd be heading into the bye week. You'd be feeling like $1 million for like a couple of weeks as a Broncos fan. I'm on board with that, man, Jody. If I would be, I think that would be a fantastic couple of weeks for me, man. I hope that is the case. So, Clayton's coming in here and saying, great way to top off Friday night. And I think he might be talking about his reunion and the playoff win and the whole nine. Or maybe he's just talking about us, Trevor. I'm going to go with us. It has nothing to do with all the rest of that. No, I'm glad you had a fantastic night, Clayton. It's great to, reunite with good friends, from the past, get all together, and then to get a playoff victory win in football when you're going to that reunion, fantastic. Fantastic like Michael Ronquillo, because he's showing that love that you just showed to all of our supporters, Trevor, and he's saying, great show, Keith and Trevor. Big hearts, and big hearts for you too, man. Appreciate you, Mike. What else we got in here? I want to get to everybody if I can. Kenny says, if the field is sloppy, Broncos 1917 on a 48-yard field goal by Will Lutz as time expires. A little bit maybe more in line with maybe what I was thinking as far as a score. I mean, I love what Jody was saying, but that sloppy field might come into play, and that might slow both teams down. So, yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Pearl's coming in and just says, I just want to see a win. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Pearl. Yeah. Trevor, take it away, man.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Just however they can win. But, I don't care if it's by 40, if it's by 1. I don't care. Just find a way to win. That's what I would say. Let's end the streak. It's new era Denver Broncos football. I don't want to see no more else of the Chiefs.
Pretty, ugly, sloppy. Doesn't matter. Just get that L off our back, says Trevor. And obviously, Pearl's right there with you. Just want to see a win. And Broncos country, I understand that. The thing is last couple of weeks, man, momentum's building. And at least we have that in our favor. If we were still sitting with a blowout loss to the Chiefs, not winning at all, man, it would be tough to go into this week and project any positivity. But let's face it, guys, all the scores that have been coming in here are coming in positive for the Broncos so far. We've got another one coming in right now. Michael Ronquillo's coming in saying Chiefs 21, Broncos 35. So, hey, man, lots of points being scored by a few of these predictions out here, man. It's kind of surprising me. Jody's coming in and saying, just win, baby. So, laugh out loud. Yeah, I don't know if I think that's a little Jerry Jones, if I remember correctly. Yeah, but, or no, that's the Raiders. That's Al Davis.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
win, baby.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I was like, wrong goofy character in NFL ownership.
I wouldn't be surprised Jerry Jones with that.
Yeah, would you be surprised?
Yeah.
Very good, man. Well, we're wrapping up. We're butting up right up against us, and he's coming in saying Al Davis. Yes, I know. I was trying to get there, man. Pearl Heater says Broncos win, refs lose. I hope so, man. Honestly, there's been two things, and I got plenty of wood, so I'm knocking on it all over the place. We haven't been too over penalized throughout the year, but the other thing I was thinking is, for all the injury bugs that we've been plagued with year after year after year, all we're doing necessarily is getting players back. If anything, we're getting players healthy and seeing them come back and be in the roster. And Baron Browning, PJ Locke, these guys are coming back. So, knock on wood, that continues to be the case. We don't get too over penalized. Certainly, I don't want the refs making this, what am I trying to say?
Them.
Yeah, say it again.
So you don't want the refs making it about them. Making it
about them. I don't want them, dictating the outcome. That's what I was looking for.
Oh yeah,
man, my words just aren't coming. Not enough coffee, but I'm here for you anyway. Everybody, sorry, you'll just have to deal with me stumbling over my words. All right, Trevor. I like this too. It would be nice to have a big game for Baron Browning. I agree, Michael. Trevor, let's get to it, man. Let's get your prediction. Or you know what? I've been making you go the entire time. Why don't I take it? I'll let you get the final. Okay? Like I said, sloppy game, running on both sides. It's going to be really dependent upon who can stop that. It's going to be a close game. I think, the majority of the time. Turnovers are going to be key. Cannot lose the turnover battle. If we get one, if we give one away, we got to get two back. It's as simple as that. We can't lose the turnover battle. We at least got to tie it up. I'm still going to say, there's a shot or two like I'm calling and I'm hoping for. And if that's the case, I'm going to go a really weird score. Why don't we go 26-15 Broncos win?
Oh.
All right. Just throw it out there. Why not? 26-15 Broncos win. Who knows how the heck we get there? Extra points, 2-point conversions, 3 field goals by Will Lutz. I'm just throwing a score out there. I think it's going to be a sloppy game, but we take a couple of big shots and we end up out on top. We break the streak, we break the curse, and we can move on to a bye week and be like super stoked, man. Trevor, how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, so I would love to pick the Broncos in this one, but unfortunately, I'm the realistic one.
Oh no!
I picked, I say 24-10 Chiefs. Unfortunately, I think the Broncos they're getting better on both sides of the ball. It was balanced game against the Packers, but again, they almost lost that game against the Packers. And the Chiefs have played better, and they're still the Chiefs. Like I just don't know that I think that if any game is going to be the game this year to get a win, it's going to be this one because it's not all the hype coming into it, you can kind of tell. If any game Broncos are going to win, they're going to win this one. But I have to go with my gut here. I think it's going to be Chiefs 24-10.
That's fair enough, man.
Unfortunately.
I don't know. He's smiling a little bit too much, man. I don't know if I did enough of a background check. Maybe Trevor's a Chiefs fan, actually. No, I'm just kidding. No. He's just a smiley guy. Always got a smile on, and always trying to be positive, even when he's having to predict a loss for our Broncos. Man, I get it. I understand it. I think I'm on the other side of things. There's just something that feels like enough is enough. It's a home game. I think we're going to be keyed up. Maybe this is the time that, as Jody has pointed out in all those Tuesday Denver Bronco Roundup podcasts that we have come out at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, Tuesday, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup. Oh, sorry. Got caught in a loop there. No, he's been pointing out that we need to open up that playbook. And this would be the perfect time for Sean Payton to sprinkle in a little bit extra and, catch this team by surprise. Not onside kick to start the game, surprise. Not a fan of those type of plays, but maybe not so many reverses to Marvin Mims or, don't have P. Ryan. P. Ryan doesn't get to toss the ball in the reverse anymore. Let's not do anything like that. Let's just, but a couple of wrinkles, a few surprises, a few deep shots. I think we could take them by surprise. Like you said, I hope you're wrong. You hope you're wrong. I think all of Broncos country, unfortunately, hope you're wrong, Trevor. Well, I don't know how that feels.
Yeah,
maybe not some of those people who think that we should still tank. Jump in here real quick, and Kenny's coming in and say Broncos and Giants have similar records of 2-5. Let's have a little fun bet. If the Giants have a better record at the end of the year, you all have to wear Giants colors on your show. And Kurt, if the Broncos do, Paul and I will wear Broncos colors on our Giants show. Hey, I'm down for that, man. I'm down for that.
Why not?
I feel a little bit more confident in my Broncos than your Giants. I hate to tell you, Kenny. I mean, Tyrod Taylor right now.
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley possibly being one of those trade deadline candidates that everyone's talking about. That doesn't necessarily spell success in my mind. No. So, yeah, I'll take you up on that, man. I'll wear a little Giants colors, man. I'll wear some Giants colors for a podcast. He said colors on your show. That doesn't mean like until we, have a better record again or anything like that. One show, that's it. All right. And Kenny's saying, let's do it, fellas. Michael's just letting us know Travis Kelce is watching the World Series. I imagine he probably is.
I'm not alone.
A lot of people are. But some of you are right here with us watching the Denver Bronco Roundup, and we appreciate you guys so much. All right, Trevor, we've went just a little over an hour. Great show, fantastic, followers, likers, subscribers, and commenters, and people throwing in questions. That said, we do need to wrap it up. I'll let you go first. I'll go second, buddy.
Yeah, so one quick, again, first of all, I just want to thank everybody that joined us tonight. Again, we appreciate you guys a lot. You guys make this possible, and we wouldn't be here without you guys. We're continuing to get more shows out. I will be having, hopefully, some sort of writing piece up before Tuesday's deadline. It's actually going to be covering the deadline, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be probably doing post-game shows Sunday as well. Me and Keith will. So, keep tuned with that. We'll keep you guys updated with it as we go along. Maybe, we'll hop on here. Yeah, and if there's a breaking news, there's a big trade that happens as well. So keep your phones open and be ready for that, and hit that notification button, that subscribe button for us. But lastly here, Keith, I want to throw this out to you guys.
Yeah.
If again, this is the last game for the trade deadline. If any of these Denver Bronco players, Justin Simmons, any of these guys are going to get moved, what better way to go out and get a win against the Chiefs? Break that streak. A little extra motivation. Talk about that extra motivation. What better way? Josie Jewell, any of these guys have been a part of the Denver Broncos the past couple of years and have gone through this. What better way? Go out with a bang and beat the Chiefs.
It's very true, man.
Because it might be their last game as a Denver Bronco. That's the motivation right there.
I love it, man. I love it because you're 100% true, man. It's kind of like I was on a little league team where I don't know if we maybe we put together 2 wins that year. I don't know, maybe 1. Maybe we didn't even win a game. I can't even remember. But I can tell you, even at the last game, right? It's like the last game. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go out there. We should just all just go out there and kick some butt. Give it everything we got. It's our last game. What do we got to lose? You know what I mean? We probably still lost, but that being said, you know what I mean? It's like, man, if there's a time, now is the time, man. So now is the time, too, to just let you guys know all about the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That's who brings you the Denver Bronco Roundup every single week, and we got more and more stuff coming. Down the Mountain, fantastic Avalanche podcast. Check them out. You can find them over on Apple Podcasts. You can check out links through Rocky Mountain Sports Network. And we got tons of stuff coming with the Avalanche coming on board. We got the Rockies that will be coming on board here shortly. And, of course, the Nuggets raising the banners, getting the rings, and heading into their next season. Lots of stuff going on Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check them out, Rocky Mountain Sports Network. I'm going to throw it up real quick. You can check them out on Facebook. Just check out, type in Rocky Mountain Sports Network on Facebook. They'll be right there in the groups. And then if you're looking for the website where all the articles land first and foremost, RockyMountainSN.com. That's RockyMountainSN.com. Last but not least, guys, we have a fantastic sponsor. They are Willow Seasonings and Blends. They're a Colorado rubs and sauces company, and they're Blue Ribbon award-winning. They're Broncos fans, so we should just support them anyway. But if you head over there right now, you'll get some of the best seasonings and sauces right in time for barbecue season, because everyone knows if you're a true barbecuer, winter is the barbecue season. Head on over there, stockpile up, maybe even get a little, head start for the holidays. And if you're doing that, save yourself 15%. Type in DBR 2023 at checkout. That's DBR 2023. Save you 15% off. And hey, David Slade is such an awesome guy over there at Willow Seasonings. Every time you use that code, he's giving $1 to a family in need at Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Let's rack that up. Let's help that family out a ton, guys. We appreciate that. He's going to run that through the end of the year. We've been talking about it. Seems like all year. That's how great of a sponsor he is for us. We appreciate you guys so much. As always, as Trevor mentioned, always shows coming out. We're trying to get more and more pods. We've been doing this every Friday night. We've been doing a little post-game wrap-up, so watch for that. And, of course, our main show that's been going on now for quite some time, Tuesday nights, 7 p.m., Mountain Standard Time, Denver Bronco Roundup main show. Tune in for that as well. Thank you guys so much. And as Michael Ronquillo says, Bronco countries only. This is the way. Absolutely. Until next time, guys, see if I can get this. Keep your feet in the stirrups. Keep your guns in your holsters. You got. I thought Trevor was going to help me out. All right, keep your feet in your stirrups. Keep your guns in your holsters, and keep the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, guys, we're out of here. Have a great night.